option of taking your picture off.
Oh, is that what it's for?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
My
goodness.
Jumping right in. You ready?
I'm ready.
You're just sitting there with a grin on your face.
I always have a grin. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for our Friday night live once a month. My producer, Patty, we really do enjoy having everybody on. I just wish we could get more people involved in thinking about their health in all aspects, but we can just work with what we have and keep taking care of the people that want to be taken care of and take care of themselves. So tonight, Muriel had asked last class, because I asked about what topics did people, would they like to talk about? And she said, could we have a class on self-esteem? And I thought that was an excellent idea. And before we get started, first of all, thank you, Muriel. And second of all, I would like some feedback as to what next month you would like to talk about. So if somebody has any ideas, you can either message it through chat. Patty, you'll have to get them off chat because I don't know how to do it. But when we're done, you can just say what you would like to hear about, and we can decide what it is. And we always want to do our classes on things that people feel good about. Okay. So tonight, like I said, we're going to talk about stress and self-esteem, which kind of go hand in hand. All right. So self-esteem can be, or first of all, we talk about what makes us healthy or unhealthy. All right. And I always like to look at the positive, but tonight we're going to say what makes us unhealthy. And that is things you hear about all the time: lack of hydration, toxic overload, poor diet. Obviously, this time of year, low diet is very, very in the forefront. So we have to be very careful. Low self-esteem and stress. So is there anybody out there that has any stress? Okay, nobody. All right, we're good. All right. Stress is the cause of so many of these things. The poor diet, because we have a tendency to eat when we're down, when we're stressed, when we want to find things that makes us feel good. If we don't have hydration, we improperly eat, or we drink the wrong things, which creates a toxic overload. And then when all of this happens, what happens? We have low self-esteem. We don't like ourselves. So the definition of self-esteem, the dictionary version is confidence in one's own worth or abilities. Okay, so that's the definition of low self-esteem, or self-esteem, and not necessarily low self-esteem. Self-esteem is confidence in one's own worth or abilities. In psychology, the term self-esteem is used to describe a person's overall sense of self-worth or personal value. So in other words, how much you appreciate and like yourself. Sometimes therapists will say that self-esteem is a personality trait, which means that they sometimes feel that it tends to be stable and enduring. Okay. So the types of self-esteem, you have high self-esteem, which is feeling positive about yourself, your actions, and your future. Or you have low self-esteem, which means you're feeling negatively about yourself, your actions, and your future. The thing that we have to understand is that self-esteem is nothing more than feelings. And it is a perception. It is a perception of yourself and what you feel about yourself. Now, high self-esteem or low self-esteem. Now, we all know people whose perception of themselves is high self-esteem. And we all know somebody we look at and go, how can why are you feeling as confident about yourself or everything as you do? And then we look at other people and we go, why do you feel so bad about yourself? It just doesn't make any sense. Okay. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's our perception of how we feel about ourselves. And how do we come to that perception? So the causes of high or low self-esteem normally is started when we were children. Okay. So it can be unsupportive parents or supportive parents. Okay. If you were raised in a family, a lot of times somebody where the parents were saying, you know, you are the greatest thing that's ever walked the face of the earth, then kids grow because in the brain, we learn things as a child. So sometimes we'll have some people have a better feeling of themselves than probably they should. All right. But if parents are telling you, you know, you're never going to amount to anything, you're a bad kid, etc., then we can end up later on in life with low self-esteem. So a lot of it is learned. I do not believe that it's a quote unquote a personality trait. I don't believe that it's hereditary. And I don't believe that it has to be enduring, because I think we can change the way we feel and our perception based upon many things in our life. Okay. So, you know, many things that happen to us, we start thinking, a perception. I can't do it. I'm not worthy. I have to be perfect. Everything I do has to be right and has to be perfect. I can't make any mistakes. I'm not good enough, or nobody loves me. And the longer that we stay in the state of low self-esteem, the more we believe this and we feel it. And it starts to invade every fiber of our body, telling us that, or telling ourselves that we're just not good enough. We've never been good enough. And most people, when they get into that type of a mental feeling, they'll actually search out people that are the same way. People that have high self-esteem normally their crowd are people that have a higher feeling of self-esteem, but people who have a low self-esteem normally migrate to people that have a low self-esteem. Why? Misery loves company. Okay, success loves success. And that's what happens. We get caught in this low self-esteem, and that's where we need to teach people that are in this vein to come out of it. And I know that at any given time, we've all had issues with our perceptions about ourselves. You know, I weigh too much. My teeth aren't straight enough. My hair is not right. You know, my body is shaped different, etc. So what happens is, if we go through life doing that, then we go back to the initial slide, which was about, you know, we start not taking care of ourselves. So we end up feeding ourselves to make us feel good by eating improperly. Some people turn to alcohol, develop that toxic overload, etc. So then it evolves into what, you know, a mental health issue. Okay. So what happens is mental health and esteem really go hand in hand. All right. And mental health really, it used to be thought that mental health was just bad genetics or a faulty chip in the brain. Now, there was a day when people that had maybe real low self-esteem, a lot of depression, they would actually shock them, tie them down and put shock on their head and give them shocks to try to get the brain to adjust. You know, just not a good thought, okay? But what we found out is that mental health really and truly is caused by inflammation, insulin resistance, unhealthy gut-brain connection, neurotransmitter issues, which goes back to inflammation, chronic stress and toxic subconscious programming. In other words, overly toxic body. Many studies have been done on children that have been diagnosed with ADD and ADHD, etc., wherein they have determined that a lot of that has come from the items listed below there, the inflammation and the insulin resistance. Unfortunately, in today's society, we feed children, we have a tendency to feed children sugars and poor quality food right from almost the time they're born. And then we wonder why they're not progressing both mentally and physically, because really inflammation affects the neurotransmitters. Then we put chronic stress on them because they can't deal with things. They've never had to deal with things. And then they feel that everything they do is wrong. So therefore the low self-esteem. I blame a lot of times with our youngsters, all the cell phones and the games and all that stuff, because they don't have to get out and talk to people and be around people and stuff. So I do believe that there's a big aspect of that in our mental health and our self-esteem issues for the generation to come. So what we eat, what we supplement, who we associate with, and exercise can actually move the needle from low self-esteem to higher self-esteem. Okay. All right. So what about stress? Now, right now there's a lot of stress in our society, and we keep talking about the pandemic. We keep talking about the political arena. Winter is here, snowstorms. People that celebrate holidays and the stress that comes with that, all that stuff. So does stress lead you to have low self-esteem? Okay. And remember, it isn't, people forget that it isn't how other people see you, it's really how you see yourself. So if you constantly think that you have to take care of everybody, but you can't, then you look at yourself as a failure, okay? And when I look at self-esteem and think about what we do as a society, we don't think about all the positive things that we have in our life. We only think of the negative. We don't think about, how did I get to this age and raise my kids and have a career, I'm retired, I'm comfortable, whatever it might be. We always go back and think about the things that we didn't accomplish. I should have been better at this. Maybe I should have had a better business. Maybe, my family isn't as tight as they should have been, etc. And we actually, in my opinion, we take ourselves and put ourselves at a detriment, and we talk bad about ourselves and think bad about ourselves because we have to be around ourselves all the time. And therefore, what happens is we assume that because we think that way, that everybody else thinks that way. And that absolutely is not true. I talk to people all the time who tell me, I haven't done, and I look at them and think, my goodness, look at all the things you have accomplished in your life. Look at what's going on in your life. But our brain always goes to the negative. And that is something that we need to quit doing. We need to quit worrying, okay? If we read scripture in the Bible, worry is not supposed to happen. In fact, in the Bible, it states that worry is a sin. But yet we constantly worry about everything, okay? We worry about that we're not good enough. We're worried the house isn't clean enough. We worry about You know, we don't drive a nice enough car. We worry that people are going to come and see us and our clothes aren't perfect, etc. We have to understand that we have to take care of ourselves, and that goes back to love of self. We have to love ourselves. And most of you, I know I've had a conversation at one time or another, that you need to look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, as soon as you get up, because that's normally when we look our worst, and look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself out loud, I love you, and I'm going to take care of you today, and we're going to have a good day. Because if you can do that and you get in the habit of doing that every day, it won't matter what you think or what other people think, because it doesn't matter. We have to love ourselves before we can love anybody else. Okay? So don't worry about what people think. And I don't care if it's within your household, I don't care, whatever. You still have to take care of your first. So if you have a husband and wife sitting side by side and you're looking at each other saying something, think about yourself. Okay? If I take care of myself, I'll be better for you. If the other person says, I'll take care of myself, I'll be better for you. That's how we get out of the low self-esteem and quit worrying about what that other person, no matter who they are in their life, thinks. So what is anxiety or stress? Okay. Anxiety or stress is nothing more than a state of being uneasy. Okay. We're just not settled with ourselves. We're just not feeling good about ourselves. We're always thinking the other shoe is going to drop. No matter how good things are, something is going to happen. It's apprehension and worry about what may happen in the future. You know, what may happen in the future, we don't even know if we're going to be around in the future. And where is the future? The future is now. Okay, the future is what you have right now. When you look around and you see what you have, and for nobody should ever think for a second, and I hope nobody tells me I have nothing to be happy about. Okay, everything is going wrong. No, you're alive, you're breathing, you have a family. All right, you're sitting under a roof over your head. You've got food on your table. There's nothing to worry about. In scripture, it says that the lilies of the field are here today and gone tomorrow. And if they're going to be dressed as beautiful as they are, why do we worry? Why do we worry what's going to happen to us? And then anxiety and stress is a cause of a feeling of being powerless, that we are not in control. But yet we are in control. We just have to take the control. We have to use the control for ourselves. We have to say, this is me. The reason we don't feel like we're in control is because we let our brain go to what we perceive that other people are thinking about us, or telling us what's going to happen, or telling us what we should do. Okay? That is where we lose our power. We have all the power unless we give it up to everybody else. The reason we let people walk on us is because we give up the power. And if you give me the power, then I say thank you very much. But we've got to quit giving it away, the power, because you think you don't have power. You do. Okay? Everybody does. But first, to have power, you have to take care of yourself and you have to love yourself. And then anxiety and stress caused by being unable to cope with threatening events. What is a threatening event? Well, it can be something that happens. It can be a storm that comes through and tears things apart. But a lot of times, our threatening events are nothing more than the worry about what might happen. You know, if the election goes this way, what's going to happen? If it goes this way, what's going to happen? We have to say it doesn't matter, because I know that I'm going to take care of myself. Okay? I'm going to take care of myself. I have my God that's going to be there for me. That's all that I need to know. And that's my power. And I don't have to worry about threatening events. because I know that one day there will be threatening events. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to be on this earth forever. So therefore it's going to happen. But why worry about a perception of what might happen instead of living for today? And if we can start living for today, living for now, and taking care of ourselves now, that reduces the anxiety and stress that we're going to face. And some of us live in stress all the time because that's where our mind is. And wherever our mind is, that's where we're going to be. Okay, no matter what. So there are steps that you can take to help feel better about yourself. Okay, you want to identify troubling conditions or situations. So you want to think about the conditions that seem to deflate your self-esteem. So the triggers can be, you know, a work or school presentation. Now, oftentimes people come up to deadlines for whatever it might be. Maybe Patty can address this. We come to a deadline for the class, and sometimes I see her starting to get a little panicky, you know, like, you know, you need to look this over. You need to that. And I just go, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And she goes, did you look at it? And I go, not yet, but I know it's going to be fine. It's okay. All right. Because I know that no matter what, we know enough about what we're talking about that we can tell you. And it's nobody's going to come through the video right now and shoot us or nothing. So it doesn't matter. Okay. A crisis at home or at work or home. You know, we're going to go through crisis. So we just have to be prepared for it. We have to understand that if we live long enough, there are going to be crises, whether it's health for our family members, whether, you know, a job, a layoff, or a business closes, whatever it might be. Those things are going to happen. So the only way that we can take care of those is to say, I take care of myself well enough to know that whatever might happen, I'm prepared and that I will be led in the right direction. Challenges, obviously, with spouse. I mean, no matter who you are, if you're in a relationship, there's going to be some issues somewhere. You might as well accept it. I know when most people meet and they first meet, they think this is the way it's going to be forever. I've never seen that to be true, but I could be wrong. There's always ups and downs. You know, challenges with coworkers or close contacts or good friends, people that, you know, we thought we were going to be around forever and there's never going to be a problem. And that just doesn't happen because we're all imperfect and we're all going to make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes lead to a situation where you're not going to be together or you're not going to be around each other as friends anymore because of what happened. But we know that because we're all imperfect, everybody, that's going to happen. Okay. Changes in life circumstances, you know, like job losses or children leaving home. I talk to a lot of parents who, you know, they're going to the empty nest syndrome. And, you know, it's kind of like, wow, this is my whole life, but it's going to happen. So we have to identify the situations that are going to come along. We have to prepare ourselves and understand it's a fact of life. It is things that's going to happen. It's going to happen to me. It's going to happen to you. And just when it happens, we have to take a deep breath, not saying that shouldn't be sad, or you might shed a tear or whatever, but it should not take you down into the depths of not being able to function and making yourself feel that you're not worthy because some of these things happen. It happens to everybody. Okay. So number 2, become aware of thoughts and beliefs. So once you identify the circumstance that can happen, so you want to think about how you think about them. Okay. You want to be thinking about your self-talk. How do you talk to yourself? Now, I have a bad habit of not talking to myself as well as I should. Okay. Patty many times has corrected me and said, why do you, because I'm one of these people that everything has to be done right. And when I make a mistake, I get very upset with myself. And sometimes I say things that aren't 100% appropriate to myself, okay? So we have to straighten out our self-talk, okay? Because if we talk bad about ourselves, why shouldn't somebody else? If we look down at ourselves, why shouldn't everybody else? All right, because you're setting the stage. You know more about yourself than anybody. So therefore, if you don't like yourself, why would anybody else like you? So if your thoughts and beliefs, they may be positive, they might be negative or neutral. They can be rational based on reason or facts, or irrational based on false ideas. And false ideas means that you're looking at things in the wrong way. You are worrying too much. You have based your thoughts on things that have never happened. But those are false things that aren't there, and you have to get those out of your head. Okay, so you have to ask yourself: are these beliefs true, and would you say them to a friend? So if you're talking and doing self-talk, and you say something about yourself that you wouldn't say to a friend, or if I say something to myself that I wouldn't say to Patty, then I shouldn't say them to myself. Okay, I should refrain and change my thought process about myself to think, you made a mistake, it's okay, we'll correct it and we'll move on. It's okay. So now we're going to go to I do need to ask you, somebody just asked a question. Okay, I won't do this. There's a chemical imbalance in some causing bipolar. My name is what you mentioned. This is real today. I lost a friend who's doing suicide because of bipolar. Okay. Are there issues where it's a chemical imbalance? I believe that. Yes, there can be some chemical imbalances. However, just like when we're under enough stress, whether it's self-induced or caused by things that are out of our control, and we stay under that stress long enough, it'll affect every part of our body, not just the brain, not the chemicals within the brain. It'll affect all of our hormones. It'll affect all of our gut health. And pretty soon it becomes so imbalanced, and people become in pain and suffering because of those imbalances, that it's very, very hard to live. And that is what takes people into depression. But so my belief is that once people start feeling this negative thoughts all the time, what they have to do is start feeding the body properly. In other words, you have to get the right nutrition and hydration and supplementation and exercise and love from other people, and be able to speak to other people that can not sympathize with you, but will at least hear you out. Okay? Because don't we turn to people sometimes for love and affection to make us feel better? Which brings me to, and I brought this in today, part of my scripture reading today was in what I call the daily bread. And it talks about that actions speak louder than words. Spouses or friends show their appreciation by listening to them and loving. So parents show their children their value by lovingly caring for them, and coaches care for their athletes by prodding them on and helping in their development. Okay, so when we start feeling that way, we can stop this chemical imbalance, because as we talked about before, all the chemicals in the brain, if you're happy, you balance that. Okay, so all the things are balanced within the brain. But if you go long enough and everything is negative for so long, yes, then you can lose the chemicals in the brain, all the good ones, and then it all goes bad. So there can be chemical imbalances, but most of it is caused by being under so much stress, real or perceived, that we just don't find a way out. I hope that answers that question that somebody submitted. Okay. Number 3, challenge negative or inaccurate thinking, okay? So your initial thoughts might not be the only way to view a situation. So so what happens is you have to test the accuracy of your thoughts. So basically what this means is what you're thinking real? Could there be other explanations for a situation? Have you ever gotten upset with somebody and then after you thought about it, maybe after blew off steam and said some things you wish you hadn't have said, you thought about it and went, wait a minute, maybe I overreacted. There's an old saying, never make a decision or never respond when you're angry. Why is that? Because we have a tendency to be thinking inaccurately. We have a tendency to respond and shut down because we're upset, we're angry, and we do and say things. And then because sometimes we do that, we try to justify and say, well, I said or did this and there was a reason, and therefore we make that our reality, even though it may be wrong. That becomes our reality. And then we start thinking that, I did something wrong or they did something wrong, and we won't let go of it because we already made a commitment so we have to step back and we have to challenge my negative thoughts, and because Patty's sitting right here next to me, but if she was to say or do something, the best thing for me to do is step back and walk away and say, you know what, I need to let this run through my brain. Maybe in the end, it'll still be bad, but it won't be as bad as what it was at the moment that it happened. So we can take care of ourselves and retain our credibility and not say or do something that we're going to regret. So we have to recognize inaccuracies in our thinking, long-held thoughts and beliefs. Many people think they're real, and then they find out later on in life that they were just somebody else's opinion or perception. And we took those and we ran with them because we thought they were real, because we never thought for ourselves. We just took whatever information was there and we made that our reality. Number 4 is adjust your thoughts and beliefs, okay? So what you want to do is take the inaccurate thoughts and trade them with accurate or constructive thoughts. So you want to use hopeful statements. One thing when we do our EVOC sessions, those of you who've done it, we only use positive affirmations. Okay, we never ever go to a negative affirmation. It's got to be a positive affirmation. So with that in mind, we have to treat ourselves with kindness and encouragement. That goes back to self-talk. So instead of thinking that nothing is going to go well, you just got to think, you know what? I know I can do it. I can handle whatever is thrown at me. It doesn't matter. Okay? Forgive yourself. For everyone who is a churchgoer or a believer knows there's only been one perfect person on this earth, and it wasn't any of us. We all make mistakes, and the mistakes we make aren't permanent reflections on you. They're instances, they're situations that happened, and we weren't quick enough to get our brain to adjust to it before we made a certain mistake. But remember, no matter how many mistakes we have made, irregardless of how many, it doesn't make us bad. Okay? We are forgiven. And as long as we understand that we are forgiven, then we're okay. And if this is my opinion, if God can forgive me for all the mistakes I've made, I should darn well be able to forgive myself for the mistakes I've made. Okay? So we're not bad for making mistakes. We're human. And when we adjust our thoughts about that and realize that we're all going to make mistakes, everybody you've been around has made mistakes, your life is going to be better. Avoid the should and must statements. So if you find that you're using these words, some other ones are always and never. Okay, those are some other ones. You want to remove, because nothing is never, nothing is always. There's no always. There's no never. There's no telling people or yourself you should or you must do this or do that. If you can remove those words from your thoughts, you can lead a more realistic life. Your expectations aren't going to be so high. Unfortunately, we put our expectations so high in ourselves that we can't reach them. Why? Because we're worried about what other people are thinking. And none of those people that we're worried about are perfect, nor can they reach any of those expectations, but still we expect ourselves to reach those expectations, which draws us down and makes us believe that we're not worthy, and that our self-esteem then starts to drain or wane. All right? So we need to focus on the positive. Think about your life that's going well. Consider what skills you have. We all have skills. Again, a lot of my stuff that I do in my life, I refer back to Scripture. In the Bible, it talks about everybody has different skills. Some people are teachers, some people are leaders, some people are givers. We all have to understand and look at yourself and say, what am I good at? What am I really good at? And then once you start realizing and focusing on your strength, then all the other things don't matter, because none of us can be good at everything. All right. You know, I know, and I'm going to throw out a name here. Clayton is on there. He's done a lot of cement work and building chimneys. For me, I couldn't build a chimney if it was, you know, no matter where it was. I would have no idea what to do. That's his skill. I have my own skills. But if I was to sit and think about, man, I wish I could be like Clayton and build chimneys and whatever, I'd be just putting myself down thinking, you know what, I'm not worthy. Nor would Clayton say, you know what, I wish I could do whatever somebody else does. We got to take our ability, our talent, and use that to help people, to help ourselves, and just prove to ourselves how valuable we are. We have to consider what we've learned. If something we did was negative, okay, then we got to say, you know what, I'm not going to do that again. I've told Maureen how many times about different things. You only put her hand on the hot stove once, right? We learn. But it wasn't a bad thing. It was a learning thing. So now we just understand, hey, the next time we're going to do something different. We're not going to do that. We're going to do something that feels better and has a positive ending rather than something that is hurtful or upsetting to us. Relabel upsetting thoughts, okay? You don't need to react negatively to something. Instead of every time something negative comes around, think positive. Think about something that would be positive for a healthy pattern. So what can I do to make this less stressful? No matter what it is. If it's about what you're trying to eat certain way, what can I do to make this less stressful? What do? Well, you might get our recipes. You might get the instant meals and make tasty, sweet tasting desserts. So it's not so stressful. You might want to walk away from people who are telling you, oh, you don't need to eat that way or don't worry about it. We have to do things that make things less stressful for us, because if we stay in the stressful mode, what's going to happen is we are going to overtax our brain and just start thinking negative, because that's the way it goes. And we have to encourage ourselves. Just as much as you encourage your children, your spouse, your family, the rest of your family, your coworkers, you have to give credit to yourself. You have to think for yourself and say, you know what? I am good. That's why I like people to talk to themselves. Self-talk is so wonderful if it's positive. So if we do something and we're not quite happy with it, we just say, you know what? I learned. I know next time I'm going to prepare more, or I'm going to research more. I'm going to do something. And once we do that, we realize that we accomplished a goal. And the next time you do that task, I'm sure Clayton, the first time he built a chimney, he didn't step back and say, that was perfect. That's exactly the way I'm going to do it forever and ever. I'm sure he had to learn different things. But as long as you keep moving forward and learning, then everything gets better and better. And you have that warm, fuzzy feeling when you accomplish that task, which means your brain is relaxed, your heart's relaxed, you don't have the anxiety, etc. Okay? So we have to encourage yourself as much or more than you would encourage other people. So we have to understand that oftentimes there's people that are never free from trouble. Why? Because they keep their minds attuned to the worry, to the negative. So the mind attracts that which dwells upon. It dwells upon, okay? So if you're always thinking negative, everything is going to go negative. It will go negative. If you think positive, things will go much more positive than negative. But unfortunately, we have this tendency as a human race that everything is going to be bad. Okay? Things are going to go wrong. The shoe is going to drop. And when we're worried about that shoe dropping, it's probably going to land on our head. All right? Because it's there. And there are people that constantly stay in the negative. And those poor people suffer immensely. I want you to be thinking positive, not negative. And remember, no matter what, there's a way out. No matter what. So if it starts, and when I say a way out, it's a positive way out, okay? It starts in your mind, but you have to change your mind. You have to change your mind. And if you change your mind, you will change your life. It really and truly is that way. If somebody is talking negative to you, whether it's a family member, you just have to tell them, I do not want to hear this. That is not true, and we're going to move on. Sometimes we have to walk away from people, and sometimes people that are very close to us, we have to walk away, because if we don't, our mind will never be right. So there is a way out. The way out is sometimes making changes in the people you're around. So don't be afraid to make a change, because that's what life is, all about change. So we are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think. Okay? Think of that again. We are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think. If we think we're going to be successful, we'll be successful. If we think we're going to fail, you're going to fail. So when your mind is pure, joy follows that like a shadow that never leaves. So if you'll see people that are just happy, they have a smile, they love life, those people are happy. You'll see people that if you say, how's it going? Well, and I have somebody in my family, every time they call, I ask them, how is it going? And, it's all right. And you can just tell their mind is so negative that it's just not healthy. And we have to get into the purity of life, the joy of life, and know that, life is a positive, wonderful thing if we make it that way, okay? Our body can stand almost anything, okay? Physically, our body can we can do almost anything and make our body do whatever we want it to do. It's our mind that's a problem. It's our mind. Athletes can do tremendous things, and you don't have to be a great athlete to do it. You just have to have the mind to say, I can do that, and slowly but surely work your way into it. It's not going to happen overnight, but we got to get in the mind. And that's why I love doing the E-boxes. That's why I love doing the e-box. I love them so much, I couldn't even think of the word. The e-boxes, because it helps people figure out what is the things that we can change. And sometimes it's amazing the things we don't necessarily believe, the positive things we don't believe. And understand that there will be obstacles. And there'll be doubters. Believe me, there's going to be people telling you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. You know, you're too old to do that. You're too young to do that. You're too whatever it may be. Okay. But, and we're going to make the mistakes. Absolutely going to make mistakes. But as long as you put in the hard work in the mind, there are no limits. Because remember, the body can do it. It's all about the mind. So we have to change the mindset before we can do anything. So I want to dirty dishes. Now you might say to yourself, what does dirty dishes have to do with this? Okay. So we found this and I thought it was really interesting. So stay with me on this. I'm going to read something. It was written by somebody in real life, and it's called Run the Dishwasher Twice. And it starts out that when I was at one of my lowest mental points in life, I couldn't get out of bed some days. I had no energy or motivation and was barely getting by. I had therapy once per week, and on this particular week, I didn't have much to bring to the session. The therapist asked how my week was, and I really had nothing to say. What are you struggling with? He said. I gestured around me and said, I don't know, man, just life. Not satisfied with my answer, he said, no, exactly what are you worried about now? What feels overwhelming? When you go home after this session, what issue will be staring at you? I knew the answer, but it was so ridiculous that I didn't want to say it. I wanted to have something more substantial, something more profound, but I didn't. So I told him, honestly, the dishes. It's stupid, I know. But the more I look at them, the more I can't do them because I'll have to scrub them before I put them in the dishwasher because the dishwasher sucks and I just can't stand and scrub the dishes. I felt like an idiot after saying it. What type of grown up woman is undone by a stack of dishes? There are people out there with actual problems and I'm whining to my therapist about dishes? But my therapist nodded in understanding and then said, run the dishwasher twice. I began to tell him that you're not supposed to, but he stopped me. Why the heck aren't you supposed to? If you don't want to scrub the dishes and your dishwasher sucks, run it twice. Run it three times. Who cares? Rules do not exist, so stop giving yourself rules. It blew my mind in a way that I don't think I could properly express. That day I went home and tossed my smelly dishes haphazardly into the dishwasher and ran it 3 times. I felt like I had conquered a dragon. The next day I took a shower lying down. A few days later, I folded my laundry and put it wherever the heck they fit. There were no longer arbitrary rules I had to follow, and it gave me the freedom to make accomplishments again. Now that I'm in a healthier place, I rinse out my dishes and put them in the dishwasher properly. I shower standing up. I sort my laundry. But at a time when living was a struggle instead of a blessing, I learned an incredible, important lesson. There are no rules. Run the dishwasher twice. Author unknown. So, there are no rules. You don't have to perform for anybody. You don't have to live by everybody else's rules. You know what's right. You know what's good for you and for your family. Live by those rules. And if you do that, you're going to reduce your stress. If you reduce your stress, you're going to reduce the toxic waste that goes in your body. You're going to reduce the feelings of inadequacy because the only person you have to prove anything to is you, because you are in your own mind and you have to live with yourself. And you know what? You should love yourself. And I'm sure you do. And there's nothing you can do about it. As one gentleman used to tell me all the time, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, Clayton, that's hats off to your dad. But that is what we should be living by. Just love yourself. and everything else will come together. Okay? So I want everybody to laugh. Okay? Laughing is always and always will be the best form of therapy. If you can laugh at yourself and laugh at life and get a good belly laugh every single day, you're going to be much healthier and you're going to feel so much better about yourself, and your self-esteem will rise, because when we laugh, it releases the chemicals in our brain and balances things. Okay? So don't be afraid to laugh. Don't be afraid to be silly. I don't care what age you are. You're never too old to laugh and have fun, to joke and play. Because when you quit doing that, you're going to get old and you're going to lose yourself. And that's where we lose our self-esteem. So we need to reframe your negative thinking. Love to see you come in and do an EVOX, our Mind Fit, our Zytos, whatever they may be, to help you get through this. Because you know what? Sometimes life sucks, all right? But it's really not bad. Life is really good if we see the light. But sometimes the darkness creeps in and it's hard to see the light. That's where we're willing to help you and work with you and take care of you. And everybody that's listening, I know will help each other. So let's have a good laugh and let's take care of ourselves. And remember, eat right, hydrate, take your supplements, okay? Don't forget to take them. Don't get too busy, because you have to love yourself enough to drink the water and eat right and take your supplements. When you quit doing it, you're quitting on yourself. And as long as you're coming around here, I'm not going to let you quit on yourself without a scolding. So take care of yourself, love yourself, and know that we're here for you and we love you. I want to thank you all for joining us. I hope you got some out of this. Muriel, I hope this is what you wanted. And I'm opening up for questions.
I loved it. Thank you. And, you know, I think one thing we forget to do, especially when there's a lot of stress, we forget to laugh. And to me, that's one of the most important things we should do. I remember telling my kids, you know, the one thing you want to always remember, find something to laugh at, even if you have to laugh at me, but just don't let me catch you. But then
I've done
my
that a few
daughter,
times.
but then my daughter said to me, "Oh, Mom, we already do that."
Heather,
So
you're
then
so sweet.
I had to laugh at that. But you know, find something to laugh at. It relieves so much stress.
Yes,
It does.
laughing is one of the healthiest things you can do, is a good laugh.
Remember last month when we were doing the hand coordination things, and we just
Shoot the thumb?
shoot the thumb, and then we would just our hands were all over the place, and we were just all laughing. It was a good stress reliever for those of us that were on last month. Yeah.
What do I have for questions? Who would like to comment or have a question? Greg, did you raise your hand?
Greg's eating.
Greg's eating, okay. No questions? Christina, hello.
Hi.
Hi,
Hey.
good to see you.
Don't want to
Good.
get sold.
Okay, nobody has a question? Come on, somebody's got to have a question.
A statement.
Go ahead.
I had a rough week last week, and I went in today for my wrap, and it felt so good, you know, to get that done. So yes, sometimes you have to just forget about the world around you and take time to laugh if that's what makes it happen. Or like I came in and did my wrap, and I wasn't gonna come. My brother said to me, go do what you have to do and forget what's going on. And I actually forgot what was going on for that space of time, you know? So yes, thank you.
And Loria's on a program and she lost 4.5 pounds of body fat this week. So it wasn't a bad week.
Oh, very good. Very good.
So it was a good week. So that goes back to the whole idea. Always think for everything that we think is negative, there's something positive. There is
Yeah.
something positive. We just have to find that positivity. All right. So again, congratulations, Loria. And you know, you had a great week. And sometimes we think it's not good, but we just keep moving forward in the right direction and it turns out good.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, Greg.
My hand is raised now. You're right, Patty. I was eating. I just got home from work. But one of the points that you made is so true about, we may physically be able to do something, but if we're not in it mentally, it doesn't really matter. And I think about how often Heather has kind of tried to coerce me into maybe going through the Candida program or trying to, get into some of these programs or even detox for a week. And it's so true. If I am not mentally in the game, and I know when I'm not, if I'm not mentally ready to do it, I cannot get the motivation to do it. So when we can think positively and we can basically mentally put ourselves where we need to be, that's when we're going to have the most success. So that was a great point.
Self-love, because think about this. You have children, why do you make them take a bath every day? Why do you make them brush their teeth? Okay? Because you love them. So you have to turn around to yourself and say, I love myself enough to do the detox, no matter what I'm thinking, because once you get into it, all of a sudden you're going to find it's easier. So it comes back to self-love and self-preservation. Take care of yourself and love yourself enough to say, I don't feel like doing it, but you know what? I'm sure there's times, Greg, I'll just direct this to you. There's probably days you wake up in the morning and say, I really don't want to go to work. Okay. But why do you? Because you have a family to take care of. You've got things you got to do. So you do them. That's called love. You love your family enough to do it. So what I really want, and you may have missed some of this, what I really want you to do is turn that around to yourself and say, I love myself enough to do that for myself. And when I do that for myself, I make myself better, and that helps me with the family. So
yeah, and that's the point I appreciated. I did hear that, and that's what I really took from it. Because it's not just about me. In the end, if I'm thinking about it and I act on it, then other people around me are going to benefit from it as well. I have more energy. I feel better about myself. I feel better about lots of different things. Absolutely,
it's never just about us. And sometimes when we talk about self-love and that sounds like I'm being selfish, far from it. You're actually, because when we take care of ourselves, and I'll just use me, if I take care of myself, I am a better employer, I'm a better friend, I'm a better parent, I'm a better everything for that. So really, yes, I love myself to do it, but I'm doing it for everybody else that I come into contact with as well. So it's really makes me feel good, and it makes us all feel good when we do the right thing when we're done. Sometimes during the process, it's not quite there, but when we're done, we sit back and say, good job. Okay? Okay, Emily, what do you have for us?
Did you see Nancy and I looking at each other?
Yeah, they started laughing.
Go ahead, Nancy, you want to say it?
I'll start it for you.
Okay.
Selfishness is
Self-destructive. We were raised that if we're selfish, it's not a good thing. We are to be selfless. But then Nancy has given me little talks where, if you don't take care of yourself, it's wonderful that you want to be there for the grandkids but if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to have anything left to give. So I'm kind of chuckling listening to this whole thing because it is so true.
Wonderful. Yes, Nancy.
what I've learned since then is that it's actually the opposite. So, if you don't take care of yourself, that's being selfish, because then other people have to take care of you. So the bottom line is it keeps you selfless if you take care of yourself, because then you could remain independent and truly do what most people's goal is, and that is to love and take care of other people. So, but you can't do it if you don't start with yourself.
And in reality, that's what we're on this earth to do, is to help and take care of others. Okay. We're not really on this earth just for ourselves, but in order to do that, we have to take care of ourselves in order to do the things that we're that we're really on this earth to do. Okay. As followers, as just good human beings. Excellent point. Who else has something? Georgiana?
I have something. Can you hear me?
Okay, who's that?
Hey, this is Barb.
Oh,
Hi,
Barb.
Barb.
Hey. So, yeah, I took a lot of takeaways from this too. A lot of what's been speaking to me in my morning meditations is like we can make ourselves be tied up in knots trying to do so much, like, with work. I'm in a new job, but and that, we really have to, it blocks us off from, the sunlight. My God is light. And so yeah, so that's all like self-centeredness. I've also heard that low self-esteem is more self-centeredness too. But I just I don't like to do any of that because it's kind of like judging. And I know that we're all in our situations and our spots in the world, and we have to work our way out of them. But it's good that taking the time to like listen to this, and even hearing the other gentleman speak about he's got to be in the right mindset to do a detox. It's so true, because you can't just like want to get better. I know when I met you guys, I was at this point where it's like I just really want this gut issue of mine to go away, and I'm still in that positive mindset, even though it's not necessarily getting as good as I would like it to be. It's just going in a positive direction, and a hopeful, like if I take care of myself, things get better, and I'm better to people, and it's all related. So
Well,
I got a lot out of it. Thanks.
in our society, we have a tendency to want everything to happen right away. But the positives are that, things are better. Not everybody gets better as fast as others. And some of it is the way we're doing it, and perhaps our mindset, etc. But as long as we're moving in a positive direction, then I want you to take your mind that way too. And just think about, you just mentioned how things are better. So you want your mind to be there instead of dwelling on, we don't want to dwell on, it's not where I want it to be yet. That's okay. It's still better than it was. And that's all we can do. And that's where the direction we need to go. So thank you. Who else? Veronica, Georgiana. Okay, Muriel.
Okay. I really appreciate the fact that how our diet is so important, because our mind and body are so connected. And if our diet is poor, then we're going to not just feel it physically, we're going to feel it mentally and emotionally. It's going to affect us negatively. And sometimes we can sabotage our own self-esteem by having a poor diet and then dwelling on negative thoughts. And I like one point that I really like is just because we think it doesn't make it so. So we want to think kind things about ourselves even.
Yes, please do that. Think kind things about yourself first, and then it's easier to think kind things about everybody else. Okay? Because again, if we love the way we're supposed to love, we're going to love everybody. But if you don't love yourself, then you're not loving everybody, are you? So you have to start with yourself. Okay, it was great
Yes,
comments.
John.
Anybody else?
John, I didn't unmute myself in a timely manner. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But I just wanted to say it was a great presentation. You touched on a lot of really great topics and idea. And, we really should live by those because it works. They work.
It does work. And I would like to ask you, somebody to give me an idea of a topic they would like to hear next month, which is the 15th of January. Who's got an idea?
Heather sent one about eating right for your body, for your blood type. if you have any thoughts on that.
Okay. Let me do some research on that. I can find something. I will. Okay.
Well, how about the importance of breathing, John? Proper taking good breaths.
Okay.
We can do that one.
Breathing. Okay. That's good. I love ideas because it's things that we all need to be thinking about and cognizant of. Okay. Breathing and eating right and love and just taking care of ourselves. It's all there. And sometimes we just need that little bit of help and reacclimating ourselves. And, you know, all of you at one time or another, there's been things in your life that somebody mentioned and you said, oh yeah, I've heard that before, you know, but I'd forgotten about it. And, you know, and it can be something simple. And I think some of these classes, that's why I like the ideas, because then it brings some things that I might not think about that people are interested in. Okay, so thank you. We'll work on some of that stuff. Anybody
John,
else?
yes, Judy, in New Hampshire. I just thought of something for exercising at home, resistance training, if people aren't going to the gym anymore, just ideas of that they could do at home besides just walking, you know.
Okay.
For exercise, for strength. I think the
Okay.
strengthening is really important.
Perfect. Okay, it's very important, yes, for exercise, and that kind of coincides with breathing, etc. So that we can work on that. There was a message here, somebody just asked a question, and it was, okay, taking the virus vaccine, do you still feel against it for discussion? Okay.